Hey everybody, this is Stephen with Junior Chima of North Florida. I hope that you're doing well. Today I have Amanda with another Career Speaker Series interview. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. So the very first part of this interview is just an introduction of yourself, job, where you're from, any personal information that you'd like to share with these students.
Cool. So my name is Amanda Garcia. I was actually born in Miami and spent most of my life there and moved to Jacksonville maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. And I specifically moved for a job at Wounded Warrior Project, which works directly with wounded veterans and their families. I was really drawn to the nonprofit industry. But born and raised in Miami, I'm product of immigrant parents from Cuba and from Mexico. So definitely got to see my mom kind of raising me as a single mom and helping out with all of that. So it's been a really awesome journey to Jacksonville.
Let's go into the perspective of being in high school. What was your thought process? Did you want to enter into education or enter into the workforce?
Yeah, so in high school, I was really driven with the idea of going straight to college. I did a lot of summer courses, even different universities, and just really trying to already get that experience before I even graduated. So that was a really cool experience because then I went into college already with some college credits and did 4 years. I definitely did change my degree a little bit in there. I feel like everybody does in your first year. But I kind of actually went pretty much knowing what I wanted to do. So went from marketing to then studying public relations with a minor in marketing and did 4 years.
Okay, so you talked about how you changed your major in college. What did you end up with? And then also how did it end or connect rather to your current job now?
Yeah. So my undergraduate degree was in public relations with a minor in marketing. And then I decided I wanted to go straight into my master's. So I did a master's in public administration with an emphasis on community development. So that's kind of where my nonprofit world with my PR kind of merged into the perfect foundation for where I'm at now, which is doing event planning and fundraising for one of the largest nonprofits in the US. So.
Can you kind of explain even further about what you do with Wounded Warrior Project? And also, what did your job look like before COVID-19?
Yeah, so at Wounded Warrior Project, I do fundraising and event planning. And a lot of that is really just kind of the fun side of it, of planning our big signature event series. There's a lot of travel. So before COVID, I was probably traveling about 75% of the time.
Wow.
I was traveling a lot all over the US. And specifically in California, I would spend a week and a week in New York, and definitely a huge shift because I haven't been home this long in a very long time. So that's really cool part of my job, is that I do get to kind of see all parts of the U.S. and just get to spend a lot of time in different communities and talking to different wounded veterans and supporters throughout the country. So now I'm home a lot, which has actually been really nice and refreshing. I finally got to do a lot of projects and spend more time with my dogs and just kind of been home, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And is Wounded Warrior Project, is it based in Jacksonville, or it sounds like there's offices all over the nation?
So the headquarters is actually here in Jacksonville, but we do have 16 offices throughout the U.S.
Wow.
And Germany and Hawaii, which I haven't been able to go yet. So hopefully I will. But yeah, so because of that, I'm able to go and visit a bunch of different offices and plan events in different areas throughout the U.S.
Can you describe to students anything that you hope that we as a society and culture take on and make it as we grow to a new normal, and what is positive that you've seen?
Yeah, so I think two things come to mind. I think innovation is something that has been
Yeah.
huge during this time, and I'm sure you could even say the same, that it's
Yeah.
been a really interesting time to just think outside of the box and think about, just because something has been done a certain way forever, that, now kind of taking a step back and saying, have we been as efficient as we can be?
Right.
Is there a better way to do this, and virtually? So I think that's been pretty interesting, that a lot of my job I probably could do from home, or just not even having to travel as much. So that's kind of been an interesting shift. And
Yeah.
then I think also just the work-life balance has also been interesting working from home, just because I do feel like I get a lot of stuff done, and I'm kind of able to really be like, in between, go and cook like a really good lunch versus just like ordering something. And
Right.
it's been like an interesting work-life balance kind of situation, which I just think is so important, is to remember to, have your own personal life and not just get consumed by your job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it goes to show that this has touched every level of society, and that we have to rethink about how we've been processing and living and doing things. And it's not about, hey, you really have the choice to change. It's like, no, you have to change. We have to adapt. And so it's so neat the way you're talking about how we have to have a work-life balance, which is so necessary, because even working at home, it sometimes can be so hard even to eat lunch for me, because I'm like, oh no, I'll get to it. I'm like, oh wait, I have to actually set away time to go and eat lunch. So that's always important. Moving on to the next question, can you tell the students why is it so important to really focus on finances, obviously during a rainy day, but also kind of before everything happens?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that it's easy when you're young to think that, oh, I have all the time in the world to do things like that, but it really does just kind of set everything into place for you, and you really do. Even just thinking about in college, it's so easy to just take out a big loan and think
Yeah.
that it's not going to affect anything. But looking back now, it does. It's years of paying back, and then, with just the cost of things rising, like, it really does impact pretty much everything and just your way of life. And
Mhm.
even going back to that work-life balance, like, do you want to be able to travel? Do you want to be
Yeah.
able to, own your own home when, you're younger? What is your path, and how do you get there? So I think it's just really important to keep in mind that any decisions that you make the second you get a credit card is really going to impact your future completely. So it's just important to kind of keep track of that.
My final question for you, Amanda, is as a woman in the workplace, what are some words of wisdom to girls who kind of are wanting to dream big about their tomorrows?
Yeah, so I think as a woman in the workforce, I think anything is possible. So that's, and which sounds really cliche, but it really is. I think that if you're determined enough to go in a certain path, just kind of put your eyes on it and even just plan it. I think that's probably the best advice, is that I really kept thinking about where my end goal was and how I wanted to get there, and just kind of setting myself little mini kind of milestones and goals
Yeah.
throughout the process. But I think as a woman, you have the opportunity to really shine, and we definitely can balance a lot at the same time. So not to anything to guys, but we are pretty good at balancing our lives. So I
Absolutely.
think just having that plan and then just balancing.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you so much. Those are wonderful, wise words to end on. And just once again, thank you so much for your time and allowing us to hear a little bit more about your story and what you're doing at Wounded Warrior Project.
Cool. Thank you.
You have a good one. All right. You stay safe.
Okay, thanks, Stephen.